Today on the Big Six in 60, John Fanta talks live from the Final Four.
A lot of fun to be had in Indianapolis, my friend.
Illinois gets set for UConn.
All the teams have essentially made it to Indianapolis.
And Arizona previews an elite matchup with Michigan.
They're elite on defense, elite on offense, have nearly identical offensive and defensive numbers.
This is the Big Six in 60, the six biggest national sports stories from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 60 minutes. The Big Six in 60 starts now. Thank you for making the Big Six in 60 your first listen of the day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Michigan is headed to the Final Four, and now the question is whether the Wolverines have one more gear left with a title shot this close. Here's Isaiah Hole from Locked On Wolverines with John Fanta to break it all down.
We have a special guest who you can see over to my side if you're watching, and if you're listening, then you can't. But nonetheless, NBC Sports and DraftKings, John Fanta, all things college basketball. Super excited to have you, man.
Great to be with you, my friend. And what a time this is for the Michigan Wolverines looking to end that Big Ten national championship drought. It's so much fun. And, right off the top, yes, it's great to be on with you representing DraftKings. It's such a fun time of year, and DraftKings is certainly where it's at. There's a super app in the works as well, which is pretty awesome. And a lot of fun to be had on DraftKings this Final Four weekend. A lot of fun to be had in Indianapolis, my friend, because here's the thing. The Wolverines meet Arizona, and I don't know about you. I can't wait to watch the front court showdown at Lucas Oil Stadium just to see the size on the interior and what happens in this clash of the Titans.
See, and that's where we'll start off with. I was going to get your general thoughts on Michigan. Actually, weirdly, I'll do that here momentarily. But one of the things that I'm looking at here is just the matchups and the fact that the front court for both teams, but especially how Michigan matches up against Arizona. That's a really intriguing matchup to me. What are your thoughts about how that particular part of the game, where does Michigan have advantages? Where does Michigan not have advantages?
Well, look, Adai-Mara and Morez Johnson are just huge. They can bear down on you. And the ability for Michigan to give them paint touches. I think when people hear paint touches, they then think, okay, back you down and then finish. Look, Michigan can do that. And defensively, they're elite. I think where Michigan has an advantage over Arizona in this matchup is the ability to pass out of the paint and hit timely threes, hit in rhythm threes. So I'm actually looking at it from the opposite side. I think Arizona's like, okay, defensively, we got to lock in on these guys. We can't let them get to the rim easily. Yaxel Lendeborg is sort of the Swiss Army knife. Arizona, they don't have the sheer collection of Namari Burnett, Roddy Gale, even Elliot Cadeau and his shot making, Trey McKinney, even Will Cheddar, who could step in and make a shot. Like, the fact is that depth in shooting is a very important part of this game, and that's where Michigan can find some sort of a difference. And then defensively, look, Arizona has been in the bottom 20 in college basketball in relying on the three-point shot. Well, Michigan challenges you at the rim every single trip down. So their ability to do that, their ability to stay out of foul trouble, be very important in this game. Arizona leads all teams in the tournament with 88 fouls drawn. That's 11 more than anybody else.
All right. So, sorry, the little pause there. I think we're struggling a little with the internet, but nonetheless, I mean, that is, I think, one of the biggest keys for Michigan is to be able to score the three. This is one of the first times that we're going to see a team that Michigan's going up against that does not need to, like, they still need to defend the perimeter, but it's not maybe as much of an issue as it was against, say, Alabama or St. Louis, or just, look at the Big Ten schedule and the teams that were able to beat Michigan. I think, though, like you mentioned being able to kick it out. How important is it for Michigan's backcourt to perform, but considering we've seen games where Elliot Cadeau and Namari Burnett disappear. What does that matchup look like in your eyes?
Well, they can't disappear in this game, and Elliot Cadeau needs to play a big-time game or else Michigan is going to lose this game because Jaden Bradley's outstanding. I mean, Jaden Bradley has been a phenomenal point guard, and Braden Burries is a winner in every sense of that term. Now, Burnett, he's got the composure piece. He's got great experience. They're going to rely on that in this game, his ability to make plays, his ability to make shots. How that matchup goes, like this is Elliot Cadeau putting on the cape and wearing that point guard uniform and wearing it with toughness and grit on both ends of the floor. Because Bradley, Jaden, I think he plays bigger than his body. I really do. I think he's got some toughness to him. But so does Cadeau. So it's a swagger matchup at point guard. And you got to play within yourself. Like you can't try to do too much. And I think that's the biggest thing that Cadeau's got to be ready for on this stage. We know he's a superb talent. His ability to change the pace is big because in a game with elite defense on the interior, how do you break through? Get some tempo. And so look for Cadeau, some of that innovativeness to his game, the ability to sort of make a play when there's nothing there or do something that's unscripted. That's going to be helpful for Michigan in this game, and it's where Cadeau could have the edge.
It's going to be really interesting to see, because Michigan does like to play in so many different ways. They've shown that they're the type of team that can beat you any way that you want to play, but we know on this side here at Locked On Wolverines what Michigan brings to the table. Could you explain more about Arizona and the challenge that they pose for this Michigan team, especially just their style of play?
Well, they're so physical. Koa Pete is incredible. He plays like a football player. And they loaded up on the interior themselves. Tobe Awaka comes off the bench. Mo Krivas has been fantastic for this team. And I think they've got an X factor to this game. One of their X factors is Anthony Del Orso. He can stretch the floor. He can get hot from three. He will be vital in this matchup if he can get cooking from there. But for Arizona, they're not going to be confused as an elite shot-making team from the perimeter. They make timely threes. They don't take a lot of them. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they shot like 5 of 9 from three tomorrow. It's kind of how they're constructed. If it's a three that they're taking, it's an open, high percentage look for them. They're not looking to get 35 up a game. They're not looking to get 28 up a game. They are a team that wants to wear you down inside. They remind me of the Gonzaga team that went to the Final Four, went to the title game, lost to Carolina in 2017. They remind me of that team that made a deep run. And Tommy Lloyd, he was an assistant for Mark Few during that run. So I think for Gonzaga, for Arizona rather, their ability to get to the rim is what they need to do. But Michigan keeps you from getting to the rim at all costs. So I'm really, really intrigued to see how that dynamic plays. And knowing Arizona gets to the free throw line more than any other team in this tournament. But do teams get to the free throw line against Michigan? Not typically. So Arizona, Jaden Bradley's got to run the show. And Braden Burries as a freshman has made so many big-time shots. He's got to do it again. The Lendeborg versus Pete showdown, get your popcorn.
The tournament is here, one of the best times of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets, it's non-stop action from tip to final cutdown. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. Here's how it works. You can get up to $300 back in bonus bets every single day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. You can mix it up however you want. Games, futures, or same-game parlays for even bigger payouts. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new. Different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. Illinois is one win away from playing for a national championship, but standing in the way is a UConn team that already got the better of the Illini once this season. Sonny Verma has the preview on Locked On Illini.
All the teams have essentially made it to Indianapolis, and they're meeting with the media. And obviously, I'm going to focus mainly on Illinois and UConn. And I just noticed a different mindset and the mentality between these two teams. Now, UConn, of course, they've been to the Final Four, 2 out of the last 3 years or something like that. Alex Karaban's been in the Final Four, I think, 3 years in his college career. Clearly, UConn is the more experienced team when it comes to these two. Dan Hurley himself, when he was asked by the media, he talked about how they don't raise banners for Final Fours, that they didn't come for the ring or something along that nonsense. Basically, just trying to make it sound like this is a business trip. And I got a couple UConn trolls in my mention sending me a picture of Dan Hurley basically doing film work in between media sessions. He's got like his iPad in front of him, making it sound like, these guys are super locked in. It's a business trip. They're not going to get caught up in the moment, that they're not going to be overwhelmed by playing in the football stadium, in the Final Four, under the lights and whatnot. And then you have the contrast. When you have Illinois, you're talking about, Andrei Stojakovic. Let me try to pull up the quote. He says, again, when asked about the stadium, 70,000 people are going to be fitting in Lucas Oil Stadium. What did Stojakovic have to say? It felt great, man. All of us were like, holy crap, it's huge. It's going to be insane. We started to soak it in as practice started, and we had a great practice today, so it felt like we belong here. Ben Hummerkaus later said, special for everybody that's going to be here when you get out here. It's remarkable what the stadium looks like, how they've set it up for what's going on. It's going to be really fun for the next few days. Brad Underwood, it's great to be here. It's been 9 years of dreaming a big dream since I took the Illinois job. I'm excited that this group of guys gets to experience this opportunity. It was really neat to see the kind of giddy, smiley faces of a group of guys that worked really hard to get here and experience that. And one more, Tommy. I'm definitely very excited to be here. Once in a lifetime opportunity. When you read quotes like that, it does sound as if it's a team that's just happy to be there. And there's some Illini fans who are concerned with that sort of mentality. You're talking about a UConn team who you would imagine already feels disrespected. They're the underdog in this matchup on Saturday, which, quite a hand up, this surprises me. I don't know if I was Vegas, if I would make UConn the underdog for Saturday's matchup, just because of, they've beaten UCLA in this tournament. They've beaten Michigan State in this tournament. Two teams that have beaten Illinois so far this season already. And, oh, by the way, UConn beat Illinois earlier this season by, 13 or 14 points already. And yet, coming into Saturday night's matchup, according to our friends at FanDuel, it's a 1.5-point spread in the favor of the Illini. You don't think that's up on the whiteboard someplace? You think Dan Hurley really needs to reach into his bag of tricks to try to find out reasons to inspire his basketball team? And so, again, with UConn coming in with a business-only mentality, in a way that's kind of expected, because that's what Dan Hurley is. But when it comes to Illinois, and I guess you can kind of say concern amongst fans that they are coming into it so mentally different, I kind of side with the fact that I'm okay with that. And I want to get your guys' feedback in the comment section as well. This team is beloved not just for the way they've played on the court, but also, and if you're a diehard Illini fan, you'll know what I'm talking about, but for their interactions off the court. Famously, you've got F-bombs and just very inappropriate comments by these players, to the point where it's kind of a running joke amongst other content creators about how these guys have no PR training whatsoever. When you see them interact with a camera in front of their faces or just with each other in general, they have like a brotherly bond, a very casual, laid-back attitude. And I think that is what I want to maintain coming into Saturday's matchup. Illinois hasn't been to the Final Four in 21 years. You know who shouldn't care? Those guys that are stepping on the court on Saturday. Most of these guys weren't born when Illinois was in the Final Four the last time. But you know who probably didn't even know that fact until maybe a week ago? Half the roster who grew up in Europe. This team has fun together. I think for this team to play loose, or let me rephrase that. In order for this team to play at its best, they need to play loose. They need to not be intimidated by the moment. I like the fact that they're kind of soaking this all in and getting it out of the way. Look, I'll be honest, and I'll talk about this more in my actual pre-game preview. I would not be surprised if Illinois starts off the game a little slower on Saturday, just because this is a business as usual for UConn. And you figure you're going to, when you're Illinois, you're going to have to get your nerves out a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if, they start off 0 for 3, 0 for 4, whatnot. Hopefully they don't have the slow starts that they've had the last 2 games. I guess against Houston, both teams started slow, but certainly against Iowa, you're down 12-2. You don't want to be down 12-2 to UConn. But I do think ultimately the fact that they are enjoying this experience and that they're not so incredibly serious during these meetings with the media sessions. Look, I'm sure they're locked in during practice. And if they're not, we'll hear about it from Brad Underwood. But in these interactions, when seeing media surrounding you, and a lot of these guys are seeing how big of a spectacle the Final Four is here domestically in this country. I'm glad that they're embracing it and they're enjoying it, as opposed to not enjoying it, as opposed to, hey, we've come here to strictly do this, and not sounding like they've been sounding like all season long. The team that has a chance of winning Saturday and the team that also has a chance of winning the following Monday is the loosey-goosey, having fun, trusting each other team that we've seen all season long. And if they were tense, if they looked like they were getting nerved or just look different, if their personalities all of a sudden stopped showing, I think I would get a little bit more nervous about what they're going to look like on Saturday. For me, if anything, it seems like the spotlight, the light shining brighter, hasn't fazed them, hasn't affected them. It's not like over the last 5 days they've gone through any sort of a PR boot camp training. They're just being them. And that's a good thing, because I think just being them can win them a national championship.
The Wildcats of Arizona are getting set for a heavyweight Final Four showdown with Michigan in what feels like one of the biggest matchups of the tournament. Leif Thulin has the preview on Locked On Wildcats.
Everyone knows that's been listening to this or any sort of national narrative that Arizona and Michigan are big. They're elite on defense, elite on offense, have nearly identical offensive and defensive numbers, despite Michigan shooting a lot of threes and Arizona shooting very few. They shoot sparsely. I'm going to explain where each team is especially potent. That's my goal in this first segment. Arizona and Michigan match up marvelously, and this is why it's such an awesome matchup, because they're very similar, and you wonder what the chess match says. The Arizona scores at the 4th best rate in the country, scoring 128.6 points per 100 possessions, and Michigan concedes the fewest per 100, conceding just 89.2. That means Michigan doesn't concede a point per possession, and Arizona scores about 1.3. Both stupendous. On the flip side, Arizona concedes 89.8 points per 100, and Michigan they score 128.2. So identical, 0.6 off on offense, 0.6 off on defense. 89 conceded versus 128 scored for both. Where it gets particularly interesting for me is Michigan and Arizona shoot the same percentage from 3, give or take. Michigan's about a percentage point better, but it comprises only 20% of Arizona's offensive output, and that's 361st out of all the teams in the country, and there's only 365, so 4th from last. And Michigan gets 32% of their offensive output from beyond the arc. That's a big difference. But they score the same amount. Michigan shoots way more threes, shooting 41% of their field goal attempts from 3 versus Arizona just 26% of their field goal attempts. And those do not include free throws. Where it gets interesting, though, is will Arizona skew more towards shooting more threes to keep up with Michigan, or will Michigan shoot more twos as Arizona is very stout on the three-point line and run them off the line and have to shoot more twos, where Arizona, they only concede 31% from 3, and they're very, very good defensively on the interior as well. Michigan, conversely, takes away the hoop very well, allowing teams to shoot twos at 44.3%, which is among the top of the country. And that is not that great compared to what Arizona does. 56% of their shots are made from two, and they shoot a ton of shots from two. The answer to me lies in the middle. And I think Arizona takes a few more three balls than usual. I mean, they scored 109 with just 8 attempts against Arkansas. They scored 93 against Florida with just 2 makes. They made two threes against UConn, and they've beaten Final Four caliber teams and 1 seeds without shooting the three. It does not mean they need to. I do think they take a few more. I think Michigan tries more twos because they don't get as many quality walk-in threes as they typically have. They shoot different shots, these two teams. That's the point. The amount of paint touches, though, is the similarity. And this is the crucial part about these two teams. The amount of paint touches between these two teams, Arizona and Michigan, meaning when a player gets their feet in the paint, whether they shoot that shot or if they pass the ball from a paint touch, and they both lead to good shots. These two teams lead the country in paint touches. And then for Michigan, instead of being immediate shots or layups like it is for Arizona, it leads to ball reversals, and the ball touches both sides. Arizona, they've talked about when they struggled offensively, even if you want to go to the rim, switch to the side of the floor, attack off the catch. So ball reversals and paint touches are of the utmost importance in this game. Defenses try to take it away. These two teams create those chances all the time. Now, most of that's well known, but this is not. I'll explain what sources of offense are best for each team versus the weaknesses of the others according to the analytics that say this is how you are compared to the rest of the country. Michigan's considered excellent at spot-up shooting, which includes both shooting off the catch as well as attacking the closeouts. That's what the category says. They convert 42% of those and knock down 38% of catch-and-shoot shots, which comprises the vast majority of their threes, and they shoot 37.5% from three. So there you go. Most of them are catch and shoots, and those are very, very good shots. And they're analytically extremely dangerous because they're threes, not twos. But they're just 31% on guard and catch and shoots, which is good because Arizona has the length to not help as much, and they have the length to contest and make it a contested catch and shoot. Michigan will kill you if you leave them open, though, because they hit 45% or just about on unguarded catch and shoots. They do not shoot mid-ranges, and when they do, they shoot them poorly at just 23%. That's where the drop coverage is going to be super important for Mo Krivas. Dare Cadeau, dare Roddy Gale to shoot those shots. They do thrive at the 10, though, and that's where Mo Krivas has to loom large. They shoot 66% as a team at the rim. Krivas is of the utmost importance. He must stay on the court. Speaking of Michigan, they run 20% of the time in transition. So 20% of their possessions, 1 out of every 5 possessions, is in full-out transition. And they score 54% of the time. Some of those are run-out dunks. Of course, that'll be near 100% conversion. And some of them are in transition threes. But they shoot 54% in transition. That's 1 out of every 5 possessions they get out and run. So Arizona must keep Michigan from running as frequently as they like to, just like they did against Arkansas. Arkansas was 99th percentile in transition. Michigan's not much behind them. Arkansas leads the country in 19 points per game in transition. Michigan not far behind them. Michigan shoots spot-ups or attacks a spot-up opportunity as a source of a paint touch, and it's a main source of offense. That's 23% of their possessions end in a spot-up touch, whether it's a catch-and-shoot or a catch-and-shoot opportunity that they elect to drive and shoot off of that. They have pick and roll that ran at 12% with the ball handler shooting and add another 5% to the ball handler distributing to the roll man, and the roll man shoots it. So 17% of their possessions are orchestrated through pick and roll, and at least the ball handler or the roller are the shooters. Of course, there could be a short roll and they kick it out and you shoot. And there's only about 8% out of the post up. That doesn't mean that they don't post up a lot. It just means that the post up and the player shooting out of the post up doesn't shoot that frequently, despite being enormous. So it's interesting to see how they boil it down. But essentially, to boil that down for you guys is keep them from running and run them off the 3-point line seem to be the keys to glean out of what they're most efficient of. Michigan does not live at the free throw line, and that's important. Arizona must win the free throw attempts battle with their rim pressure overwhelming Michigan. As for Arizona, Michigan is great at defending the rim and holding teams to 51% at the rim, which means it's a huge drop-off from Arizona's 63% conversion rate at the rim. And boy, do they shoot a lot. So if you shoot 63% at the rim with the volume Arizona shoots, you're going to score a lot, which is why Arizona's 4th ranked and offensive efficiency on the season. Michigan is average at defending the pick and roll ball handler, which means that Burries and Bradley will have many opportunities to try to punish drop coverage and switching, whatever it may be. They're not particularly great, though many teams haven't had the athletes or the depth of athletes to truly punish Michigan in that regard. That is one of the things they're not excellent at, which is one of the few things you can really pick and create a chink in the armor. Michigan is only okay on the defensive glass despite their enormous size. The margins are razor thin. That's why I bring this all up. These all are pretty much great equalizers. The margins are razor thin for each side. But now you know which shots are preferred by each and how each defense will scheme based on the last few days. I expect Arizona to run a lot of pick and roll and drive into Mara aggressively and maybe put some short rolls with Koa Pete, let him make some decisions, spray the ball out, go to the rim, body search, rim pressure equals foul pressure. That's Tommy Lloyd's philosophy. You heard the stats. That's my theorization. You heard the stats, the geeky numbers that I presented you guys with, indicating which shots will be taken.
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Welcome back to the Big 6 in 60. The Raiders have made a major quarterback move, and it's not yet draft time where they expect to pick Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. They're bringing in Kirk Cousins, and now the conversation shifts to what that means for Las Vegas going forward. Here's your boy Q from Locked On Raiders with more.
Want to get into what really matters. Kirk Cousins, him coming into an agreement with the Raiders. What does that mean for the team moving forward? What does that mean for the incoming rookie quarterback in Fernando Mendoza and the head coach, Clint Kubiak? Before we get into that, I do want to remind you about the Everydayer Club, ad-free episodes, and access to a group chat with listeners of this show and other shows. Tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedonraiders.supercast.com. So it's funny, I saw a lot of mixed reaction. For the most part, I saw a lot of pretty positive reaction because, again, the salary that Kirk Cousins is getting paid by the Raiders is very minimal. So I think that a lot of people took that and felt pretty good about it. But I did get some feedback on the other side of things. And look, I was super busy all day on Thursday. Multiple radio shows, multiple outlets reached out and wanted me to, talk about the signing. Of course, I'm good, right? Hey, let's do it, right? If you got a few minutes, I do too, right? So I'm willing to do those, have those conversations. But a lot of it was, kind of negative because a lot of folks remember Kirk Cousins tore the Achilles while in Minnesota. When he got to Atlanta, wasn't very good. Remember that game he played against the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium? I believe it was Week 15, Monday Night Football. Wasn't very good. The very next week, he got replaced by rookie Michael Penix at the time because he just wasn't very good. But remember, he was just coming off an Achilles injury. So, last year he's out there, he's in Atlanta, and he's, playing once Michael Penix goes down, and it looked like he was getting better. Well, this guy, again, is a couple years now removed from a torn Achilles, and from a perspective of a guy who's torn multiple ACLs, your first year, yeah, you're back, but it's really your second year, right? After you have a little bit of real time under your belt to come back from something like that. And oh, by the way, he's older as well. He didn't tear his Achilles at 21, right? He tore his Achilles at 30 plus. So he's trying to do that, but again, this is a guy that has been there, done that, and has worked with Clint Kubiak, who now is the Raiders head coach, where he worked with them when they were in Minnesota. He was the quarterback coach and then the OC. But it was funny when I got this tweet, and I got this tweet from at DutchRaider00. He said, "I hope I'm wrong about Kirk Cousins, but I doubt I am. Sadly, by next week, I will have bought in after Q talks me into it. LOL, such a sucker. Hashtag Raider Nation." And so I responded on Twitter. I said, "Nothing to talk you into. He's literally insurance." And he responds, "I get it. I just don't think he's that good anymore, and nor he has ever been a mentor. Think they could have found a more talented vet or stuck with Aiden O'Connell for time being. Don't see his value at this point. Sure, I'll be suckered in soon enough. Again, Dutch Raider 0-0. And I'm not picking on him at all and saying anything bad about him, because I know that there's plenty of people that feel the exact same way. But the biggest point is, what I said to him is, he's insurance. Like, you're required to have insurance, right? Now, none of us ever want to use it. None of us ever want to know what our deductible is. No one ever even wants to know who our insurance agent is, because that means that something went wrong, right? So that's what Kirk Cousins basically is, except for the fact that Clint Kubiak was just at the owners' meetings earlier this week and said ideally for a rookie quarterback, he'd like to have a veteran play and let the rookie quarterback sit back behind him and learn. And if you don't remember what he said, here it is right here. Check it out.
I think in a perfect world that he's watching a mature adult, go and run an offense and run the team. But the situation is, you might have that player, you might not. You might not have that veteran to show him the way. So he might come in and have to play immediately. But you'd rather him learn before he gets in the game. You don't always get to pick. It just doesn't work out the exact way you want it to. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're bringing in an individual, drafting a guy that is mature enough to handle some adversity, whether it's him starting the first game or him starting the first game year 2.
So that was Clint Kubiak at the owners' meetings in Phoenix, Arizona earlier this week. And he said in the ideal world, that veteran is starting. But that's not always guaranteed. And so if it's not going to happen, if you're not going to have that veteran quarterback, then you need to have a quarterback and a rookie that's got it between the ears, that's smart enough to figure it out, understands the playbook, and go ahead and play. And we all believe that Fernando Mendoza can be that guy, but if he doesn't have to be that guy, then why not go ahead and allow Kirk Cousins or a veteran like that? And again, it's not just any veteran. It's a guy that's been there, done that, and knows Clint Kubiak's offense through and through. And not only just from their time in Minnesota together. Think about this. Where did Kirk Cousins get drafted? Washington, right? He was a 4th-round pick when they drafted RG3, number 2 overall. Who was the head coach when that happened? Mike Shanahan. The Shanahans and the Kubiaks, they go together, right? I mean, their system and their scheme are all the same. So he's basically been in the same offense all his time that he was in Washington. Then he went to Minnesota. He spent the 3 years with Kubiak in the same offense again. So he knows this playbook. He knows what is expected from, Clint Kubiak's going to expect from him inside and out. Like he's going to, and the other thing is, and Clint Kubiak said this the other day, he doesn't expect a veteran quarterback to go in there and be a mentor. Going back to Dutch Raider 00's tweet, he's not asked to be a mentor. He's just asked to be a veteran quarterback to go in there and do what he does. And the rookie, it's his job. It's going to be Fernando Mendoza's job to observe, listen, pay attention. If he has questions, ask questions. It's not Kirk Cousins' job to say, hey, Fernando, come over here. This is what you're supposed to do. That's not his job. His job is just to go out there and play. And that's what Clint Kubiak said. He said, I don't need him to teach him. That's my job. I just need him to go out there and be a veteran quarterback so I don't have to be forced to throw the rookie out there. And the other thing about this is there's no telling that he's not still going to start. Because for all we know, Fernando Mendoza might work his tail off all summer, all training camp, and by the time they cut down the 53-man roster and they make decisions, all of a sudden he's named the starting quarterback. That is an option. And that's the real, that's realistic. So it's not a bad thing. It's not saying, and I saw some people say, well, they watched Fernando Mendoza's pro day and then they went and signed a veteran the next day. What does that mean about Mendoza? It means he's a rookie quarterback, and they had one quarterback on the roster. Now, I do feel bad for Aiden O'Connell because, again, now he's looking at himself as the 3rd quarterback on this roster because we all know Mendoza's incoming. Kirk Cousins is there, and then there's Aiden O'Connell. I do feel bad for him going into the last year of his deal. Don't know, what that means for him. Are they going to keep him around? Will he be a backup quarterback? Will he, end up getting moved eventually? I don't know, right? I thought when he got injured last year during the preseason that he was probably going to get moved, but he didn't. He's an ultimate teammate. He's a pro's pro. He's probably on his 5th or 6th playbook, and he's only in his 4th year of his career. So it just seems like nothing's ever really gone right for him. But this is a good signing, and it's not something that, it's not a Geno Smith move from last year, where they traded draft capital to the Seahawks to bring him in. They gave him a big contract extension. We knew that he was going to be a short-term quarterback, but we didn't know who the answer was going to be, who the next guy was going to be. At least in this situation, we know Kirk Cousins most likely will probably start the season, but he's not the end-all be-all goal, and you know who it's going to be. You know when they're ready to pass the sticks, who they're passing the sticks on to. So at least the plan is in place. So for anyone who's freaking out and thinking that this is a bad thing or he's going to have to play the whole year, not necessarily. But then again, you never know. What if he's out there and he's playing really well? And it's, hey, we don't have to force him out there. Remember, Patrick Mahomes didn't play till the end of the season, his first year in the league. He really didn't, right? And people talked to him. I remember talking to him in the locker room when they played the Cowboys. And Alex Smith's locker is right there. He's the starting quarterback. And we're all talking to Patrick Mahomes, and he's not even playing. I mean, that was the funny thing because everyone was waiting. When's this guy going to get on the field? When's this guy getting on the field? And that's what's going to happen with Mendoza. Everyone's going to ask. But as long as he's out there and him being Kirk Cousins is out there and he's playing pretty good ball, I don't think there's going to be any questions. And then when they feel, all right, Mendoza's ready to go, then they could put him in. Again, it's the ultimate insurance policy. And, we're supposed to all have insurance. Now, I know everybody doesn't, but we're all supposed to. And sometimes you have to use it. And sometimes you don't, and hopefully you don't. And look, that's what the Raiders' ultimate goal is. They don't want to have to turn to Kirk Cousins and say, hey, man, we're going to need you to rock this because this guy's just not picking it up. No, it's just to have a guy there in place that's familiar, that's very, Mendoza's been called who? Kirk Cousins. Oh, he's very Kirk Cousins-like. So then, their personalities, their style of play, it kind of all fits together. So again, to me, it's a win-win situation, right? If he starts and he starts only a couple games, he starts 4 games, he starts up into the bye week, whenever that's going to be, great. If he plays the whole year and the Raiders are playing really well, that's good too, because then that means your team is winning. So that at the end of the day, like I said, it's a win-win. It's not an indictment on Mendoza and what they saw at the pro day, and all of a sudden it's a bad thing. And it's not a requirement that Kirk Cousins has to be good and vintage Kirk Cousins. All he has to do is be able to be a placeholder, right, and go out there and operate. And Mendoza has to watch, observe, and if he has questions, he needs to ask the questions. It's not Kirk Cousins' job to be the teacher and say and tell him what to do and give him instructions. That's going to be on the coaching staff.
The tournament is here, one of the best times of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets, it's non-stop action from tip to final cutdown. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. Here's how it works. You can get up to $300 back in bonus bets every single day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. You can mix it up however you want. Games, futures, or same-game parlays for even bigger payouts. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new. Different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. Welcome back to the Big 6 in 60. In the NBA, the Pistons kept rolling with a win over the Timberwolves, and Detroit keeps looking more and more like a team nobody wants to see in the playoffs. Here's Khalil from Locked On Pistons to take you through it.
The Detroit Pistons just defeated the Minnesota Timberwolves in this game, 113-108. This time it was at LCA. They've now beaten the Timberwolves twice in the last week and a half or so. Obviously, Minnesota, though. They did not have Anthony Edwards. He is still out. But still, this is a good team over there in Minnesota. And the Pistons are without Cade still. And we did get an update. I guess I should probably say that. We got an update with Cade. Cade will be reevaluated in another week. My expectation is that he will be reevaluated at that point. The Pistons will have 2 games left in the season. I don't think he'll play in those. I think they'll just have him take the, rest up as much as possible and then just be ready game 1 of the playoffs. I think that's been the expectation. I think that's what's going to happen. But nonetheless, they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in this game. And there is so many fun things that happened in this game that I really don't know where to start. I guess the first place you want to go with is that this was just another team win. I mean, Dana's had 26 points. Jalen Duren had 22 and 14. Asar had a prime Draymond Green stat line, 7 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals. I mean, it was incredible. Kevin Huerter continues to play phenomenal. He's just been so good. Duncan Robinson with 15. He was 5 of 11. He also hit 3 of 7 threes. Javonte Green helped close the game out for the Pistons in the fourth quarter. He had 8.6 rebounds. Ron Holland, I think, he had been struggling as of late, and he didn't. I thought he had some very, very good highlights in this game, including 2 really impressive drives, including one where the Pistons ran a DHO. Asar got the dump off. It wasn't there, so he dribbled it back out into a DHO with Ron Holland. Ron Holland comes off the DHO. He attacks downhill, a misdirection Euro step, and slams it down. Cade jumped off the bench, went crazy. It was an incredible drive and finish. He had 2 of those tonight that were really dope to see. Even Karis LeVert, I didn't play too bad. Wasn't great, but he even contributed 7 points. It's just one of those, like it's been really since Cade went down, it's just been a team effort. Now, there have been specific guys that have stepped up, but it's just been just a major team effort by the Detroit Pistons since Cade Cunningham went down. And I guess that's where we should go to next, is that when the Pistons announced that Cade Cunningham was out, why am I punctured lung? My goodness, I don't know why I was struggling over that. When they announced that he was out, we had so many national media people say that the Pistons would struggle to win 2 to 3 games. Now, when we recorded the podcast, when Cade went down, we were concerned as well. I was concerned as well. The Pistons had not played well. Remember, go back. The Pistons had not played well since the All-Star break. Leading up to that point, we were questioning, like, what's going on? Why is the defense not popping off? They're struggling offensively. Their defense is falling off. Like, what is happening? And then Cade went down. So when we recorded, I was like, every single game the Pistons win, I don't care if it's against a tanking team. I don't care if it's against a great team. I don't care who's in, who's out. Every game they win is important because they had been struggling up to that point and their best player just got hurt. And like I said, a lot of the national media was questioning how many games they would even be able to win. Would they be able to hold on to the 1 seed now that Cade was out? We are now 10 games. It's now been 10 games since Cade went down. He went down the first game of the Washington game. He played very few minutes in that game, so I'm counting that game as a win for the Pistons. I think most people would. It's been 10 games, and the Detroit Pistons are 8-2 in those 10 games. 8-2. A team that people thought wouldn't even win 2 to 3 games. A team that people said we're going to lose the first seed to the Boston Celtics, or we're in danger of losing it to the Boston Celtics. They are 8-2 with a win over the Los Angeles Lakers, who everyone was crowning as a championship contender. And the 2 losses that they have are 2 overtime losses. First loss was to Atlanta, and they lost by 1 point in overtime. After being down 21, they fought back, came back in overtime, lost by 1 point. And then the other one was to the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champs, who they also lost to in overtime by 4 points. So those are their losses. Some pretty good, I mean, about as good of a loss as you can have a loss. And they've won 8 other games. They have absolutely shut everybody up. Now, I don't think this is going to earn them respect, because I don't think there's anything they can do that's going to earn people's respect. But if this isn't able to earn people's respect and shut people up, I don't know what would. All year, I have been so incredibly annoyed with and this is not to take away anything from Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham I think would have been All-NBA first team if he didn't get hurt and was qualified for these awards. I think he has been absolutely fantastic this year. Everyone knows how much I love Cade Cunningham. He is phenomenal. But I have been absolutely incredibly annoyed all season by the national narrative that people outside of Detroit talk about when they try to say that Cade Cunningham has been carrying a bunch of bums all year and that the Pistons don't have much talent. I think it is fair to say that Cade carried a lot of offensive burden, that he created a lot of the offense for the Detroit Pistons while he was healthy. That is fair. To say that he was carrying bums, to say that they don't have talent they don't have much talent outside of Cade, I think that's blatantly ignoring what this team has been all year and the players that they have on this team. Since Cade has went down, you have seen Jalen Duren put up numbers that I can't fathom that he's putting up. Duren has had a great year, and I've been incredibly complimentary of his season. But what he's doing in these last 9 games is quite possibly the most insane development I've ever seen my time watching the Pistons. One of the most shocking things. And it's because the last 9 games since Cade's been out that he's played, he missed one of the games, and the 9 games he's played since Cade went out, including this one, he is averaging 25 and 11 on 74 true shooting. To see your volume increase, to see the intention that you have on you increase, to have to increase the amount of self-creation without Cade increase, to have all that happen and to have a major jump in efficiency while doing it, while scoring 25 a game, is absolutely unheard of. That does not happen. You see an increase of volume, you see an increase of self-created looks instead of being assistant on a lot of your buckets, and now you're the main attention when you never have been before. Most of the time, that results, and even if it's just a little bit, usually it results in a drop of efficiency because it's going to be harder for you to do so. And instead, Duren has just been utterly efficient, not missing many shots, scoring 25, only taking 12 shots a game. When he misses 2 shots, it's a shock. He's shooting 84% from the free throw line while drawing nearly 9 attempts a game. If there was any question to paying Duren this offseason, if there was any worry to paying Duren this offseason, and I won't lie, a few weeks ago, I thought Duren deserved to be paid, but the idea of, giving him a supermax, that's going to be hard to build with. That was in my mind. Not that he didn't deserve to get paid, but you're paying Cade, Duren, and then Ausar. You're probably going to be paying them, 100 plus, 110 plus $1 million. That's going to be tough. I'm admitting that I was someone who was thinking that. Had it in my head. There's just no way that you can think that way with how he's played as of. This is absurd. This is crazy. I could not have even come close to thinking that he could do this. This is I don't know how else to say it other than this is crazy. This is absolutely elite. This is spectacular. The self-creation that he has, the touch around the rim, the ability to be at the hub of the offense. Even when it feels like in this game, the first half, he was very sloppy with the ball. He had 5 turnovers in this game. He was losing the ball a lot. He getting it poked away, and I was like, oh yeah, he's losing control of the ball a lot. I don't know if this is going to be a great game for him. He might actually have a bad game in this stretch. And then you look at the end of the game, and he just has 22, 14, and 4. 2 blocks, a steal. I guess not as efficient. He's not 74 true shooting, but it's 56 true shooting. Not terribly bad efficiency. That's a bad game for him now. He went up against Rudy Gobert, one of the best defensive centers we've seen in the last 50 years. And that's a bad game for Duren. That's a struggled game for him. 22, 14, 4, 2, and 1 on 57, 56 true shooting. He's just been unreal. Absolutely unreal. And I have no questions, no worries, no second thoughts. You absolutely just basically have to give him the blank check and say, we're happy that you're here. Whatever it is that you want. If you make All-NBA, so be it. We'll pay that too. We are incredibly happy that we're paying you this money, and we're the ones that have to pay you this. Because this has been incredible to see. I'm super interested to see how this translates to the playoffs. Now, he's incredibly young. The whole team's incredibly young. And if they take some bumps along the way this year, that's fine. This team, he's 22, Asar's 23, Cade's 24. They're very young. I do not expect them to just have smooth sailing for the rest of their careers. They're going to struggle at times. And if it happens this year when they're at this young of an age, so be it. Even that probably won't change my mind at all, because this is being able to do this. What he's done over the last 9 games is just that I don't know how that doesn't win over everybody. It's crazy. It's video game stat lines.
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Welcome back to the Big Six in 60. In Oklahoma City, the Thunder absolutely overwhelmed the Lakers in a 43-point blowout that sent a message to the rest of the NBA. Ryland Stiles goes over a dominant win on Locked On Thunder.
In a lot of ways, this was a different verse, same as the first. Yes, no Alex Caruso for Oklahoma City today, but they didn't need any more help beating down these Los Angeles Lakers who had Luka, LeBron, Reeves, Ayton. They were missing Marcus Smart, but if Marcus Smart is the difference in this blowout win, the Lakers have bigger problems than we once thought. You look at this game coming into it. It is a much anticipated matchup. The NBA sets their clock to it. It is a game where it feels big. It feels like a playoff game in this arena. Even before the game begins, the boos raining down on Luka Doncic and on LeBron James, and the anticipation, the excitement, the energy was there. This is a must-win game for Oklahoma City. As we dissected last night with Brennan Rabar on this show, we talked about the Thunder and their race for the 1 seed and how crucial it is to finish this homestand undefeated. Now the only team standing in the way of that is the lowly Utah Jazz, and the Thunder made a statement tonight. Whenever everyone was looking at this matchup, just like they were earlier this season, it was the Thunder who absolutely outclassed the Lakers. The Thunder start this game out with great energy, with a playoff feel, and you saw a playoff result. A 9-2 run right out of the gate prompts a Lakers timeout with 10:03 to go. That would be a theme for this game. The Lakers burned all their timeouts in the first 3 quarters. The energy of the building was changing, and it stayed that way, overwhelming the Lakers, who were 0 for 3 from the floor in a trio of turnovers to start the game at that point. And in fact, the Lakers didn't hit their first field goal until the 7:07 mark of that opening frame in the first quarter. The Thunder defense was suffocating. The speed and the size was too much to handle for the Los Angeles Lakers. The Thunder actually changed how they played in this game. They played with a ton of pace. They were the more physical team defensively. They were the more pace-heavy team on the offensive end. And these two teams looked like they were playing a completely different sport. The rotations were that of playoff rotations for Mark and company in this game. Listen, everything went OKC's way. We talked in previewing this game about the shot variance and which role players were going to step up. The first frame, OKC wins the three-point shot line 7-3. They were 19-4 victors in the points in the paint category. The Thunder were 7-0 in second chance points in the first quarter and 12-5 in bench points. They won points off turnovers. They won fast break points. They won every single facet of this game in the first quarter, including the overall contest in the first quarter. It was 44-21 at the end of one, and there was nothing the Lakers could do but cry uncle. It was completely over. And the Thunder kept their foot on the gas the entire way. 56-24 as the Lakers need another timeout as that run began once more, once the quarter changed over to the second period, including in the non-Shea minutes, where the Thunder continued to be dominant. Oklahoma City got whatever they wanted to tonight. They outworked, they out-executed, they out-physicaled, they outpaced, they outshot, and they flat out outclassed the Los Angeles Lakers. There's no other way to put it. The Lakers, midway through the third quarter, only had one timeout remaining. That's how much they tried to slow down this Thunder team to try to get anything going. And in no segment of this game, not even with Brooks Barnhizer on the floor and mop-up duty, could the Lakers get anything going, any consistent feel. It was a wire-to-wire, absolute dominating game for Oklahoma City tonight against Los Angeles Lakers. And the Thunder, not only were they playing a different sport, but they were outright disrespecting the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, that 2-on-1 fast break where Kaysen and Jay will play patty cake back and forth, and then Kaysen decides to throw a contested lob to Jay Will, and it didn't go. And Kaysen gets the rebound flat-footed and just throws up a form shot, and it goes in without jumping. This team was running circles quite literally around LA. They were pantsing the Lakers all night long. And yet still, even in the midst of being up by 45 points, it's Cason Wallace who's diving on the floor for loose balls. Everybody got to play in this game for Oklahoma City. The fourth quarter was all academic, to steal a line from Chris Fisher. No one played in the fourth quarter for either side. Everyone knew where this was heading. The Thunder just played way faster tonight than they usually do, and it shows you that they can play multiple styles in order to get a win. The Thunder are playoff ready, given who all stepped up, given the results of this game. 139-96, they beat down the purple and gold in this game. Look, it is never as good and never as bad as it may seem. The Thunder will not shoot at this elite level every single night, and you can take solace in that if you're somebody who's watching this from an anti-Thunder perspective. Here's the thing, though. When they do that, they are flatly unbeatable. When they shoot the ball at a good to elite level, they are unbeatable, no matter who you put in front of them. And another problem that the league is going to have with Oklahoma City once these playoffs come around the corner and are here, is that you not only have to match Oklahoma City, you not only have to deal with Oklahoma City, but you've got to beat them in 3 to 4 phases of the game every single game to give yourself a chance to win the contest. And those phases that are most important, rebounding. If you can get the Thunder on the glass, you're going to have a good opportunity, because if you can get offensive rebounds especially, you can try to get cracks in this Thunder defense, which is so elite and historically great, with historically great players on it. 3-point shooting variance, it has to go your way. The turnover battle or points in the paint. It's hard to limit turnovers against this Thunder team. Everybody in the history of basketball has wanted to limit turnovers. Everybody in the history of basketball, for the most part, has failed to limit turnovers against this Oklahoma City team. So if you can't limit your turnovers against this very long, athletic, and instinctive Thunder defense, then you have to take away points in the paint and turn that into an advantage for yourself if you want the opportunity to beat Oklahoma City. And you say all those things out loud. You say the path to victory for teams in the playoffs, and hope springs eternal, right? It is spring. The playoffs are around the corner. You can start to talk yourself into a lot of teams and a lot of contention, and how fun the playoffs will be, and how incredible that the postseason is going to be for theater-wise and for basketball-wise. But when you really say that and think about it, how many teams can do that 4 out of 7 times? That's a very short list. The list right now is 3 teams. And once again, at the end of the year, you're seeing the Lakers surge. You're seeing the Lakers be the talk of the town. Luka Doncic today won the March Player of the Month award for the Western Conference. And once again, the Thunder put them back where they belonged. The Lakers are a good team. They're not a contending team. And the Thunder proved that. And the Thunder were dominant. A wire-to-wire win for Oklahoma City. They won the rebounding battle 57-46, and it wasn't that close. They forced 18 Laker turnovers. The Thunder were plus 14 in the paint. They won second chance points by 15 points. The fast break, it was a laugher. I mean, the Thunder had a track meet today inside the Paycom Center, 32-14. The Thunder had 32 assists tonight. Including mop-up time, the Thunder still shot 53% from the floor, 45% from 3, and 76% at the charity stripe. The Lakers, including mop-up time, only brought their averages up to 43% from the floor, a lowly 23% from the three-point line, and 77% at the charity stripe. OKC made 19 triples today to the Lakers 7. The Lakers 7 threes. And now the Jazz are the only team standing in the way of a perfect homestand on Sunday in Oklahoma City. And that's massive for the 1 seed. The Spurs got a dominant win today on the second night of a back-to-back, their last back-to-back of the year. They got a dominant win against the LA Clippers. And that's good for them. And the Thunder did the same and matched them with this win. And as long as these two teams keep matching one another, well, eventually, father time comes for everybody. Eventually, you run out of time if you're the Spurs to catch Oklahoma City. The Thunder had to take care of business against the Jazz. They have to turn in a 2-1 road trip, which for this team, that's won 61 games and is threatening for their 3rd straight 1 seed in the Western Conference. A 2-1 road trip is not too much to ask for. And if you do that, you're going to be the 1 seed in the Western Conference, because the only thing left would be Phoenix in OKC on the last day of the year, a Phoenix team that would already have their positioning locked in with the play-in tournament and would have to play in a few nights. So you would imagine that they're not going to exactly gun for that final game of the regular season. This was a huge deal for Oklahoma City. Again, like me, before this game, you could have said that you don't believe that the Lakers are contenders. You would be right. And it's never as good or bad as you think. But to make this statement, to win every phase of the game, to go wire to wire, and to get a much-needed must-win playoff-level game was huge. But it's not just the end results for the team. It's how it happened. It's how the sausage was made. It's what the process looked like. It's the fact that Jalen Williams looked like he was in playoff mode. It's the fact that, once again, before he got hurt, you got big game Lou in this building again, in showing you why you should continuously trust Lou Dort, why this team trusts Lou Dort so much.
That's all for today's Big 6 and 60. If you follow basketball, football, or college sports, the Big 3 and 30 has a half hour on the biggest news in the NFL, the NBA, and on campus, going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 and 30 NBA, the Big 3 and 30 NFL, or the Big 3 and 30 college, wherever you're listening or watching now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 6 in 60.